Welcome to the James and Heather Show. I'm Heather Dawn.
And I'm James Guay, and we're giving you the best in health, love, and relationship advice.
You almost said left.
I know, huh?
Or love.
Or love.
Something like that.
Love.
You probably know this fabulous lady
Special
already.
guest here, Laura Day. Welcome.
Welcome back, we should say.
Yeah, and we're today talking about reaching your full potential.
Yes. Reaching or realizing your full potential.
Both.
Both of it, and then the blocks that get in the way. Please tell everybody about yourself just real quick in case they forgot.
Well, I'm an intuitive and a healer, and I'm the author of 6 books on intuition. And the reason I write about intuition and healing is because it's an innate gift that everybody has that is very useful in creating good outcomes in your life, finding the information that maybe you haven't been exposed to but you need.
And I have read at least half her books, and they are way worth getting. I've read at least one of them twice. Your Practical Intuition book, I've read that twice, and The Circle I've also read twice.
Circle's my favorite.
Yeah. So, and you can always find her on Facebook and on YouTube, but today we're going to talk about reaching your full potential and the blocks that get in the way. And so what does that mean to you?
Well, you know, it means something different for every person. You know, I think that because of media, our potential in a certain way is very removed from what our real drives are. So it's really, first of all, what is your purpose? So what do you feel good doing here on this planet? When you're engaged in whatever your purpose is, things flow. But it's also getting rid of the old programs that tell you what you're supposed to
Software
be.
updates.
Right, and taking the time and asking for the insight to know who it is you are, and being able to do, and this is the hardest part, suspend judgment long enough to put what you are in the world.
Right.
Suspend judgment long enough to put what you are in the world.
Well, it sounds a lot like learning to be intimate with ourselves enough to lead from a place of authenticity and being genuine more in the world.
Yeah, but I think that people often, you know, they're out of touch with what makes them genuine and unique. You know, in an odd way, one of the things you, I think, learn if you get older is that your deficits are also your gifts. But we spend maybe the first 50 years kicking sand over our deficits.
Totally.
But you know, that same vulnerability gives you sensitivity. That same disorganization may give you breadth. The same thing that might make you walk out in 2 different socks, you know, allows you maybe to see things in the world other people don't see. So there's a certain degree of self-acceptance, and self-acceptance is very hard. Self-acceptance really has to do with reality testing. Not this is what I want to be, but this is what I am, and guess what? 5 minutes from now, I have the potential to be something completely different.
Right. So it's a full acceptance and appreciation for all the dimensions of who we are. Not just the stuff that we like, but the stuff that sort of is problematic at times too.
Right. And also to be able to create dreams. You know, I think that people, and I hear from a lot of people because I answer all my emails personally. So I hear from a lot of people, and often people's dreams have very little to do with who they are, with their gifts, or even with any genuine desire. It's the feeling that if I become rich, or if I become famous, or if I win the lottery, or if I fall in love, somehow I'm going to be whole, I'm going to be redeemed. Whereas of course our job is to find our wholeness, no matter how painful it may be at times, in this moment, and then move from there.
I often talk to my students or clients in the same way, where I'm just like, if you're waiting for that perfect circumstance, you're going to be waiting for a very long time. All right? You have to create the circumstance and make it. Even if you go in there despite yourself, and even if you go in kicking and screaming, eventually you'll acquiesce and you'll start to see things. And that when you're looking for balance, you should always look to your opposite. And
that's interesting.
And you'll figure out how to create. You know, if you're inherently restless and high energy, and you want to do things that generate stillness.
Oh, that's interesting. What if you're restless and low energy? No.
Yeah. All of it combined.
I like to be restless on the couch.
Then you need a vacation.
Right.
But reaching your full potential, and you know, when you talked to me about that topic, and then I was like, James, this would be really cool. I thought of a few things. One, of course, I immediately thought of Maslow. and his 5 steps
His
to
hierarchy.
to self-realization and the needs. And
well, and that the foundation really needs to be set where there's basic needs, fundamental needs that are getting met, so that we have the capacity to sort of meet other needs.
But I think that what's often absent in people, because feeling is overwhelming,
Right.
is the reality that I think AA says this: feelings aren't fact.
Right.
And the fact is that wherever you are, you can get to where you want to be. But to have a clear sense of where you want to be, you actually do have to work through a little bit of where you've been, you know, of those patterns. I wrote an article once on the geographical, which is simply changing locations. Because when you change locations, you don't have those anchors to habit and those anchors to patterns. So sometimes that's why you hear of people like they go on a trip and they fall madly in love, or they meet the perfect business
Open
partner.
themselves up to a new experience.
Or they fall apart because, you know, they've been pushing down so much, you know, because their lives are so busy that they don't allow it to emerge. But I love the construct that your life starts today. It doesn't matter what your history was. The tools are there if you look for them, and intuition certainly helps you find them, as does community. But your life starts today. You can make decisions today that will completely change what you have, not who you are on the most essential level, but who you are in terms of how you function in the world. And I think that people feel disempowered to do that. You know, they feel anchored in some concept of self, and self is such a mutable thing. But you know, once again, if you go to finding your purpose, which is why I love the circle, you know, you have your goal and you put everything into that batter and you filter what doesn't belong in that batter, and what you end up with is really a sacred space, and that's what our lives should be.
Right. I love that. It sounds like you're talking about sort of not being limited by our limiting beliefs, and sort of being in alignment with our passion, our mission, sort of our full potential in that sense. Right?
And the question is always, how do I get there? And I think that you know, it's people always look for signs, like a rose on the street, or a billboard, or oh, I saw a sign, this must mean this. Your entire life is a sign. So I often ask people, this is in Practical Intuition and Love, I say to people, what are you loving? Like, what do you love to do? I love to teach. That is my favorite thing. I love to teach. You know, what inspires you? What do you have to give that's meaningful for you to give? You know, there's all this research now on generosity, and how generosity actually alleviates depression, gives people a sense of wholeness, makes even their physiological self function better, you know, and it's important. That contact is so important, but that contact as you and who you want to be in the world.
You know, it's interesting, you touched base on 3 things when we get to giving you tips to living more fully, or tips to living your full potential. You talked about having a goal and direction, so focus was one of those things. Getting out of your comfort zone, right, and exploring new territories, new places, doing new things. That's another great tip. And then wait, she was just talking, there was a third one you just mentioned. Oh, gratitude, an attitude of gratitude. What that is actually doing to your central nervous system is it's initiating a parasympathetic response. So when you're feeling gracious and gratitude, you're off of sympathetic arousal, which is you like, I got to accomplish and do and get. And then gratitude is more about receiving, and you even breathe different, which is why it has that physiological effect that you were talking about. So you start to get into rest and digest mode. So it does have a physiological component, and those are 3 tips, and that was very wise. She didn't even look at the tips, and I wrote them down.
Oh, because I can't see them without my reading glasses on.
She's intuiting off the board, and she can't see.
You know, I think that also an acknowledgement that, of course, we all want 100% security, 100% accuracy, to be loved and never abandoned, to put ourselves out there and never be humiliated. None of that's possible. It's just, you know, life, the acceptance, yes, and the acceptance that life has wonderful things in it, and life is also really complicated and really difficult, and you need to honor yourself for taking on that challenge. And we're so good at cutting ourselves down. You know, the one of the things that I really work on with people, and it's the first thing I hear when I meet someone, is their negative internal dialogue. You know, it's wonderful. Good reality testing is good. You know, I don't drive at night, and everybody is safer because of it. You know, good reality testing is good.
There's
and
some truth to that interview.
Knowing yourself.
But saying, it's okay, I don't drive that well at night.
You don't have to judge yourself for it.
Right, and I do these other things well. I can't think of any off the top of my head. No, but
you teach.
But it's real. It's important. I think you know, a lot of the New Age stuff leaves reality testing out. And it is important to say, this is how things are right now. I don't like it. I have no choice but to accept it. And okay, let me spread this mess out. And where are my tools? Because if you're realistically in a moment, you find your tools there, and everybody has amazing tools. And that really, you know, in terms of living your life effectively, knowing what your tools are and knowing what tools you need or want, you know, is important. And once again, it's important to remind yourself that it is all out there for you. You know, I mean, the energy that's out there, the wisdom that's out there, the opportunities are infinite. What is finite is your ability to your attention. Your attention can only be on so many things. And so it's really important to make those choices about where are you going to put your attention. You know, absolutely worry. I actually do this worry diet thing where I wake up, and I'm an anxiety type. So I wake up and I obsess for 5 minutes. I get myself into such a froth, and I write down everything in the obsession that I need to do something about. And then during the day, and then I meditate for 20 minutes, which is another kind of agony, and see how bad I am at getting these thoughts out of my head. Then I take action on the things I need to take action on, and I write them down. And for the rest of the day, though, when my mind goes back to those things, that when I persevere in my neuroticism, I choose things to redirect my attention to. And those things are what I want to create, because where your attention goes, your energy flows. And you want your attention on what you want to create. Of course, you want to be alerted to what you need to watch out for or take care of. But you don't want to stay there. You want to take the effective action. Just like you don't want to stay in your place of pain. If you're having a fight and you're upset, what do I need to do here? You can put it on the shelf. You're not going to forget about it. But you don't want to stay in it. You want to take some kind of action to be able to broaden your field and not narrow it.
Well, it sounds like a balance between sort of denying or ignoring versus overindulging and obsessing. That there's a kind of a middle ground there where you notice, you put it on the back shelf, and then you redirect your attention.
And it's work. I mean, all of it is work.
Well, that's interesting that you say that, because when we're talking about reaching your full potential with Laura Day, who just happened to be jumping in here. And you know, when you're talking about what you just said, it's work. Why is someone motivated to do this? Like, you're sitting here going, oh, I want to talk about reaching your full potential. Why is someone motivated to do that? And are they looking to do that as a human being, which you were just talking about? It could be applied to your career, to your relationship. But what would you think would be the impetus, right? Or
hunger. Hunger is the most valuable reptilian sense we have. Because hunger, whether it's for success or love or to have a voice or to be seen or to be healthy, or that hunger for something drives us. And it is not our elevated self, it's our reptilian brain, and it's a wonderful thing. It makes us, you know, go out and go after and take the risk to transform, because as mammals, change is not our favorite thing. And as an anxiety type, certainly not mine.
It's like you lean into that anxiety a little bit more and find space within it.
And, you know, it was also interesting too when we referred to Maslow. I mean, he was saying that before you start looking at self-realization and enlightenment, or whatever you want to call these fancy words, that you need to have certain primal needs met, right? That somebody's not going to be looking at reaching their full potential if they can't pay their bills every month, or put food on their table, or have sufficient shelter, warmth, you know. Do you think that that's the case?
Well, absolutely. I mean, Yes and no. I mean, I think, yes, when you don't have your basic needs met, you shouldn't, there's no way to ascend beyond those needs. However, sometimes it's in actually meeting those basic needs in a realistic way that ascension occurs. You know, it's
through the struggle or
through the struggle. I mean, I think that you know, many people, I mean, don't want to get into politics, but I mean, I think that many people in this, because I'm going to Phoenix where people are both armed and Republican.
That's true.
But you know, I think that it is, I mean, a lot of my work, and especially my new book that isn't out yet, is based on this idea that science is actually applying to every course of study, from astronomy to physics to biology, that we are a field, we share a field. So our weakest member is part of our illness. You know, we are responsible for, or we pay dearly for the fact that people are suffering, and it is very hard to, I mean, regular life when you have everything is very hard. It's very hard to become more when your basic needs are challenged. However, many people do. It is absolutely
possible.
It is not just possible, it is amazing. And certainly when people work in communities with the idea not of competition, but of creating each part of that community to be strong, those dynamics are often solved.
Amazing things can happen in collaboration and in community and with compassion and collective sort of efforts.
Yeah, and you know, everyone hates the D word, discipline, but you know, everything does take discipline. You know, you repeated your bad habits and your disempowering beliefs many times before they became a part of you, and you need to do the same with the ones that carry you through. And that really is, in a sense, what adulthood is about. It's about saying, okay, is this thought useful? Whether it's true or not really doesn't matter. Is it useful? You know, is this plan actionable? Is there a step I can take? Because if not, maybe I need another plan to get me to that plan. You know, I mean, it's an important concept to know that a lot of the time you won't feel like doing your new habits until they actually become habits.
Right, you have to create that that new groove, right? That treaded
and there's
path.
actually a groove on your brain that is created that represents a habit. It takes about 2 weeks to create.
Neural pathway.
Neuroplasticity.
Yeah, neural pathway. We talk a lot about that. I know we have to wrap things up with you, but just real quick, what do you think gets in the way of people? Like, if there's something specific, or you would just say, like, this is a block that tends to get in the way of people reaching their full potential, besides excuses?
I think we spend a lot of time on our wounds, and we spend a lot of time externalizing our bad feelings about ourselves and saying, well, that's how this person feels about me. I think that if you walk through life assuming that, yes, you need to use your good judgment, but that everybody's doing the best they can, and so are you, and that there is always a way to connect, then you really lead a different kind of life.
I also,
thank you so much.
She's saying thank you, but I want.
But she wants the last word always. We know her.
Right. Go ahead.
Yes, go ahead.
Don't criticize me. No,
we're admiring you.
Exactly.
That's right. Let's flip it around.
Go get her.
Fear. Fear is a big one. I was sharing a quote with you right before we went on here in terms of a block that really stood true for me. John Acuff, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing his last name right, authored a book called Punch Fear in the Face, and then a few words after that. But he was saying that the most common trap when he's met 20-year-olds and 50-year-olds, that it's fear, that everybody has a passion, a dream, a desire, but that the fear is often the thing that stops you from living what he would call an extraordinary life, or in your case, reaching your full potential, self-realization. That fear is this beast that sort of sits alongside excuses. What do you think of that?
I wrote a book called Welcome to Your Crisis, and it really, fear is certainly for me, but there are 4 types. For an anger type, it's not fear, it's shame. For a denial type, it's the crushing grief that the reality of their situation burdens them with. You know, it's for a depression type, it's simply not being able to find the energy to move forward, the self-support. So I mean, I think that one of the wonderful things about human beings, but which also makes writing quotes difficult, is that we are unique and we're, very complexly made. I think that what really gets in the way is that we're very good at seeing the end goal, but not the first step. And I cannot tell you how many times in response to an email I put, for the moment, don't think about it, don't do anything, just put one foot in front of the other.
Right.
That's all you need to do right now, is put one foot in front of the other. Because great things don't happen until they do.
Right.
Great.
And then, but they can, just like this. And that's really what the circle is about. It's what practical intuition is about, is how do you set up the conditions for those great things to happen?
I love it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. I know we love seeing you. We love having you on the show. And you can find Laura Day at lauraday.com.
Yes.
And you can find us on the jamesandheathershow.com.
And what else? And if you want to find us on Twitter, we're at JamesHeatherSHO. And feel free to reach your full potential. This lady certainly knows what she's talking about. I've read half her books. You should definitely go and read her books.
The other half.
Be very,
Exactly.
The ones I haven't read. And I'm going to stop being salesy. And we're going to go watch you in your workshop right now.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.